Then we will then begin with Committee of the Whole, item number 1.1, parking due to the new medical clinic.
So at the last public hearing, we had a couple of businesses come forward as it relates to parking on 2nd Street. They brought forward a legitimate concern whereby they said they already are having problems with people parking in front of their stores, and this is some longer term parking. In speaking with the property owners along that street, they had suggested a half-hour parking, and this is basically from Railway to to Cook Avenue. I believe that we can probably get away with a half-hour parking from Railway to Ross, which is just a small half section of the street there, and we may consider looking at 2-hour parking from Ross to Cook Avenue. That's where you're going to have people that are lined up for the apartments, or for their appointments at the medical clinic. In this particular case, regardless, I believe that it would be in our best interest to do the half-hour parking in that area, regardless of what goes in there. Just because this is a spot that they're having a lot of people with staff parking in front of their businesses, and it is having an impact on them. They believe that a half-hour turnaround in front of their business would be effective and efficient.
Is it fair for us to assume then that any new medical clinic that would be built, they would probably apply for like a loading zone, if you will, out front, like probably 2-3 car lengths?
And they could, yes.
Okay. Because there's a lot of people that are going to be going in there with things like crutches and chairs and all that sort of stuff, and I wouldn't want to see them have to park in front of RAG and then only have half an hour to get down there and up, and see their appointment. So,
but didn't their drawings show it as being the loading zone and the canopy being on their property, not on the street as such?
Yeah.
I would have to double check that, Brian.
So like there was a lane there,
Chris,
or a roadway they were putting in, I guess on the west side?
Could we just, oh, sorry.
What this will require is a bylaw amendment to permit, like right now, the specific concern we're addressing is those specific businesses that felt were going to be affected when they came in, or they didn't come, they sent a letter as it related to the variation in conditional use.
Yeah.
Could we even go like right to Edwards?
Yeah,
Like,
so I was
or
thinking
even
to
Fisher,
Fisher.
but like right, I'm thinking even right to Edwards. Like there's those few little shops that are right, next door to Giant Tiger there. That there's that stretch that people park in front of all the time.
So
I'm sure one day they'll stop constructing at dental clinic. That'll got to wrap up at some point.
So what kind of parking would you prefer in those areas?
I would
Again,
say continue with the 30-minute, like right to
Okay.
Edwards.
Right from Edwards to
Railway.
Ross.
Railway.
And then, well, no, right from Edwards to
It's Fisher,
Rail.
not Edwards.
Or to Ross.
Well, I was thinking Edwards. I mean,
Like
we could go
Edwards.
right to Fisher,
It's right
but
here.
I was thinking like Edwards as in like right
Oh,
at the corner
gotcha.
there, yeah.
I was thinking Edwards to Ross would be half an hour, and then 2 hour from Ross to, you could even go right to the train tracks, really, if you want. Or just to Cook, whatever.
Well, you
Like,
got the Lorraine Apartments right there, you don't want to limit.
Yeah.
true enough, yeah. So just from Ross to Cook, I guess would be, you could do 2 hour. Feels so piecemealed.
You want it to be consistent.
I know,
Yeah,
that's what I was
think
thinking.
just from
30 minutes and
Ross,
that's 2
yeah,
minutes,
just from
or 2
Ross
hours
to
and that's
Edwards,
no.
do 30-minute parking. Because I'm just thinking like, we do have like the 2-hour parking
here's the
on like
canopy.
Fisher. So if
The
there are
drop-off.
people who do have appointments or something, we still want to, I think, leave like a little bit on the side streets for those people to have someone to.
So
That
the
was
people in
drawing.
front of
I took a snapshot of the drawings there
stores.
last time.
Pardon me?
Yeah, so that would be
people
like the
that had a
drop-off.
concern
So-
last week,
Correct.
was it around,
Just
is it
about
like it
handicap.
was a similar
I'm-
scenario as?
We didn't get clear whether
on
this
Fisher.
is intended
It
for
was-
parking
People are
for
parking
here.
there all day.
No, it was
Or is
very
it parking for
specific, like, well, some of the
hospital staff or
education
whatever,
people
but
are
it's a-
parking there, some of the
a
nurses are
drive-through,
parking
right?
there.
Right.
Their concern is if you're gonna be having medical appointments, that people will be parking in front of their stores because it's that much closer. That's why they felt 30-minute would have been sufficient. I did explain the longest that I've seen was 2 hours. They believe 30-minute would have addressed their concern. They said in all of their businesses, it's a quick turnaround. So that's why they specifically asked for 30 minutes versus 1 hour to 2 hours.
Then we run the risk where we have one block is there's nothing on one
Correct.
block, and there's 2 hours, and these 3 blocks, and there's 30 minutes, so
I know,
From an
it feels
operational point
piecemeal.
of view, you're like, okay, like, people from out of town don't know what's what.
I'm
And
just
we're the
thinking
ones that hear it.
between like Ross and Cook, what is really in between Ross and Cook that you would need 2-hour parking for?
There's nothing in there.
Yeah, so
It'll
if
be
the
your medical facilities, people going to the doctor's
If the businesses
appointments.
say
Well-
that 30 minutes is sufficient, then why don't we just do 30 minutes, like, right from Ross to Edwards?
You mean from Cook to Edwards?
Yes, from Cook to Edwards.
In my opinion, from Cook to Ross, that is where all your people are going to be going for their medical appointments. Half an hour would not suffice.
Yeah. So let's
But-
keep in mind that these people who are looking to park their 12-hour shift in a 2-hour spot are going to go find new places to not park properly. This is what they've been doing for years. I don't see that changing at all. So I don't understand why we just don't have one time zone. It's 30 minutes along here. They're still going to have to work 12 hours, whether it's a 2-hour or a 30-minute parking. And so if we just have hospital people park on hospital grounds, it almost forces the issue on them. And I've seen plans change. You know, you're going to have this little drive up to the door thing on the plans now. Watch that disappear when it's time to build it. So, you know, it's all going to be street. And so, you know, again, I just think that 30 minutes. My worry is, okay, you can park in this block for an hour, you can park in this block for 30 minutes, this block for 2 hours, and I don't care how long you park in that block. And so it's like, what?
I understand that. The only problem I would say is where your clinic is going to be located. I just want you guys to be aware of is from Ross Avenue to Cook Avenue, that's where a lot of your appointment people are going to be parking. And if they get in and out of their appointment in half an hour, I want their appointment.
That's what you're going to say.
Well, no, I know, but there is, like, if you look at the drawing that's been presented
Yeah.
to us, there is quite a bit of parking that's set up in there. And I think, I don't know, I see where everybody's coming from. It's better to not have it piecemealed. You know what I mean? So
Totally agree.
I would rather see, right from Edwards to Cook, if we were gonna do this, I would rather see if we did an hour right straight through there, instead of 2 hours or half an hour, and then 2 hours. Like, we either do, I don't know, it's just,
And we've all been there for the 8 a.m. blood work. First come, first serve. If you're not there at 7, you're not getting in it before noon. So,
I
So
did
one thing-
suggest the 1 hour parking and they came back with the half hour.
yeah, I agree in half hour on that block for sure. I just think we should just extend that out. Sorry, Councillor.
Alan had his hand up there
The
first.
one thing they pointed out when they were here was the big parking lot they already have. So, I mean, if you go to the Health Sciences Center to get something there, there's nowhere to park. You park in the Parkade, it's 30 minutes away. You know, with your kids or whatever, they drop them off with mom or dad and then go park and come back. Right? So I see this working the same way. I think if we have different zones, think of it if you're someone from somewhere out of town, right? You come here for a medical appointment, well, I was just shopping on Fisher and I have 2 hours, so I pulled over here and now I got a ticket. Like, I think consistency is key.
It is.
If we have 2 hour parking, then we have 2 hour parking, and that if it needs to extend down that street, and extends down that street. I know it's not necessarily what all the shop owners want, but I've worked for all the people on Fisher. So now the people on Edwards say, well, we want 45-minute parking, that's what works for us, right? I mean, we need to be consistent. I'm all for parking limits, right? But if we decide on 2 hours, and then 2 blocks over, we say, well, it's 30 minutes for you guys, like, we're creating work and havoc for ourselves, in my opinion, right? And think of it, if you're coming from another community and you come here, I don't know where, like, you're not gonna look at the sign, just, well, it's 2 hour parking there, or 30 minute, like, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree necessarily with that point directly. I mean, these particular group came to us because they're directly across from and stand to be directly impacted by people that decide, well, I'm just gonna park right here on the street for half the day because it's how long it's gonna take me because they can. It directly impacts the existing businesses that are there, and if it's well signed, it shouldn't be an issue for people to know what the limit is. I don't know Winnipeg at all. I'm horrible driving there. I have no idea where I can park and where I can't. So I look for the signs that tell me the arrow's pointing this way, you've got 15 minutes when you stop here, or you've got 2 hours when you stop here, or this is where the meter is. And I rely on that to tell me what I'm doing in Winnipeg, because I have no idea. Otherwise, if I just pull up to a curb, I get out of my car and I'm like, well, I guess I'm rolling the dice because I don't know. And that's to your point, Alan, that if it's not clear, it's not good. But for one block, as these particular shop owners have requested, where they're at the highest risk of being significantly impacted by this development that we're going to approve with a whole bunch of variations and conditions, to put the appropriate signage up for one block that will accommodate everybody I don't think that that's an unreasonable thing to request. And I think it takes us off track to think about expanding it way out this way or expanding it way out of that way. We've been asked for a very specific thing, for a very specific area, for a very specific reason. I don't think it's wise to try and turn that into a bunch of generalities about the downtown core. You know, with the downtown core, when we switched to 2-hour parking, it was a very specific thing. Downtown is struggling with parking, period. Let's try and find a specific solution. 2 hours seems to accommodate everybody. So, you know, I'm hesitant to extrapolate that rationale all the way out to this scenario because it is different. It is based on a specific development asking us for a whole pile of conditions and variations. So, for me, I think it should be 30 minutes on one block as they've requested, as the municipal superintendent has indicated, and sign it. And there, it's real clear and easy for everybody.
I think I'm fine with that, actually, now that it makes more sense if we just did it for that one specific block. But in a sense, are we not putting the cart before the horse here? Like, this hasn't been approved at the Treasury Board. The clinic is not a for sure thing because it's not set in stone yet. Why don't we, you know, take a step back, put a pin in this, and then see where it is maybe a couple months or 6 months after the clinic is actually built or getting close to being built or something. Because I don't know, I just feel like, you know, we're going through these scenarios that there is going to be this huge parking problem for the couple of businesses in this specific area, but we don't even know if there is a parking problem. There's been a parking problem on Fisher for 10 years, you know, and we just finally dealt with that now. But that was an issue that we could see was happening, and that businesses had come forward and had evidence of it being an issue. We don't even know if this is going to be an issue. If you look at the plans, it looks like they've got 45 parking spaces there for the medical clinic. Maybe it's not going to be an issue whatsoever, but I don't know. That's just how I look at it.
Councillor Rock?
Yeah, I guess my concern is if we're separating our citizens, those that are there for medical reasons, we're suggesting they don't need as much time as somebody that's going shopping uptown. I think that's an imbalance. I would lean towards, hey, let's just have one time, 2-hour parking, doesn't matter where it is. If it takes less, guess what? The parking spot's available anyway. But I don't know whether you want somebody, what does somebody do if they're on crutches and they've got to go and move their vehicle? It doesn't seem reasonable to do it that way, assuming that it's going to have a real negative impact on businesses in the near area.
Councillor Commodore?
Okay. The 30 minutes, I think, should stay because these businesses are having the big problem now. So now we're looking at it, like I've heard this over and over and over again from these same businesses. We have hospital staff. It's not the patients, it's the hospital staff parking in front of their stores all day long. And so I'm looking at the problem, the signs. Everybody looks at the signs. Like Andrew said, you go to Winnipeg, I'll look at the signs too, still don't understand them, and if I get a ticket, well, that's my own fault. But if it's posted, there's a problem. And the 2-hour parking, the downtown, it is working. Being a business owner myself, I've actually had customers say it to me, and they said, oh, there's parking. I've had more people come. So, yeah, that's my 2 pennies.
This just to close it.
Yeah.
Back to Andrew's part about extrapolating, but you could extrapolate the fact that you now have one block, so it's 250 feet on both sides, and how many, and 30 minutes. That's going to take as much to have your bylaw officer work as probably the 3 blocks on Fisher, right? Based on the time frames. So we can't enforce even what we're proposing. And so I think, again, we should be consistent in what we're saying. We're asking for trouble, again, in my opinion, for not consistent across the board. So unless we're prepared to, I mean, it could end up needing another person. I don't know what our bylaw officer spends a day tagging cars, right? But you've just doubled his job, in a sense.
Randy?
I'd suggest if we're concerned with how far we're putting this, I would just go from railway to to the Ross Street. It's a very short span that would accommodate everybody in that area. Again, this
I'm
was an
confused.
ongoing problem.
Railway to Ross for 30 minutes?
Yep. It would address the people that brought the concern forward, and it's just from Railway, right where the RHA parking is now, going right to the end of the ambulance building on both sides. It's not going the whole length of anything, it's a small area.
My 2 cents is that while I'm almost 100% sure this is going to come back for further changes, I think we should just do what the people have asked here. We can do it and we should do it.
Sorry, just for a point of clarification, I wasn't really aware that this is an issue already at this point in time. Is that,
Yeah,
that
that's
has
the
been,
problem.
They're
that's
already
been a
having
long...
problems,
Yeah,
people
this isn't-
parking there.
This isn't just when that clinic comes,
And
we
that's
want
why
this
they're
parking
even
changed.
more concerned, knowing there's going to be greater amounts of people accessing that specific area, and they know that it's going to be automatically more than an hour. That was why the 30 minutes was recommended. Because they said in their businesses, there's going to be a quick turnaround, there's no reason to go longer than a half hour. And they said it keeps people rotating and going out. Whereas if people are attending a medical appointment, even for an hour or 2 hours, that can tie up the whole area.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize that it was an issue as of right now. I just went by our request form here, saying it's specifically related to the clinic and
I've talked to
that
them,
sort of
their
thing.
issues is that there's currently employees with the RHA parking in front of their business.
Yeah, no, for
And so
sure.
they just, they see this clinic coming, and they're going, well, this
It's
is
only gonna
starting
get
to
worse.
cost us money. So they've asked for a 30-minute, I think that's what we did.
Where exactly are they saying they're parking? I'm confused.
In front of the
here.
stores. Pete's Pro Tackle, RAG.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're parking there all day long. So those people in that block have asked us to a 30-minute time limit. That's what they basically asked us for here.
The whole street is getting bad for that, like right behind the hospital too. People don't want to pay the parking, people don't want to walk. The RHA has done their due diligence and they have provided a spot, but you can't force people to park in there.
But from Ross to Cook, is there no parking there now allowed, or?
They park there all the time, but it's not in front of a residence, or in front of a business, pardon me. So it's not really affecting anybody as badly.
Wherever they start to park, 6 months later, we come in with rules and regulations. And so I believe that this being September, in March or April, we'll be back here again, chasing them off to another area. And so that's how this has gone for, well, the 6 years I've been on council. Remember we talked in the last council, we talked about how we're going to have to get them off of, or control Cook. And so now this time it's come around the corner onto Second, and we're looking at this one area block. And so it'll come back to us again. But I think we should just do as the people have asked us to do. That'd be my recommendation.
Just
Yeah.
one more quick
Yeah.
thing. Has anybody approached the RHA and said, you know what, we have a problem here, this is your staff, like, can we come to some compromise? Like, I don't think they charge too much a month for parking at the hospital.
Apparently they do, because people don't want to pay it. And
That's
they park on the
exactly
street
Well,
for free.
I've heard different things. I've heard $4 a month, and that's just, and
No,
no,
I
this
think
should be something like, if you tell your employees there's parking here and get parking passes, like, I used to work there, we were told, you park in the parking lot, and we all parked in the parking lot. You got a little sticker, and when I worked there, it was $3 a month, and I worked casual.
So it
There's
happens
a big
everywhere.
parking lot that they have there that they pay nothing.
Yeah,
A
zero
long time
dollars.
ago in a galaxy far, far away, I worked,
Yeah.
I had an office in the provincial building, and it was, back then it was $20 to park in the parking lot, and that's how come Hazelwood became such a great place to park, because you didn't have to pay to park there. And then, of course, the town would come along with their blade and bury your vehicle, and, well, who are you mad at now? So this is always going to come up, every 6, 8, 10
Yeah.
months. At one point or another, at one part of the town or another, so. Again, are we okay then, around the table, to
Yeah.
grant their request?
So railway to Ross,
Or whatever.
from
the-
behind Home Hardware Street to Ross.
I like the railway to Ross idea as opposed to the Cook to Ross, or Cook to Railway, sorry.
Okay, so the recommendation would be to bring forward a bylaw that would be 30-minute parking from Railway to Ross on both sides of the street.
Okay, let's bring a resolution. Let's make it so. Okay, weight scale.
This is,
Oh, hold up.
Now, that's just on the front, and it's got nothing to do with the side
No.
of the businesses?
correct.
So,
This
the
is just
si-
on Second.
so the side is all-day parking for
Well,
staff or whoever? or
One side's
whatever?
a back lane.
Because it just sort of seems odd, if the businesses are worried, they should worry about where.
They're
all the
storefront kind of
parking is.
businesses, they're more worried about their storefront.
Yep.
That's what it boils down to, right?
Okay, we've moved along. Weight scale.
I will bring Chris forward to speak on this. This is as it relates to a contract for the maintenance and service of the scale at the landfill.
Yeah, so basically, we bought this scale from Superior Technologies, I think 4.5, 5 years ago, before I came here. We were getting it serviced. Basically, all that meant is he comes in with a weigh truck and checks to make sure the scale is weighing appropriately. But for whatever reason, for the last 2 years, I've had a very difficult time getting this gentleman back here to check the scale. So, and on top of that, he can't provide like the repair services that Superior Tech can do for us. The programming and the logic boards that are for the scale are, for whatever reason, unique to this company. So basically, this service agreement allows us to have a lowered rate, basically saving us $2,000 on this repair in particular. For normal service, we're still going to be looking a lot more than what the other guy was charging. He typically charged $600. Superior Tech, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be charging us probably $1,000 to $2,000 to come up here to make sure the scale is weighing properly. But the service agreement essentially gives us a rebate or a fixed rate per se.
So what do we get for our $10,000? What do they do?
For that $10,000, when I was showing the cost here, that's just to repair those outside monitors and to fix a logic board inside the scale shack that relays the weight to the computer program.
So I'm sure you recall where that fella came here and he was weighing coming out because that's not possible. He jumps out of his truck and it drops 400 and some odd pounds, a 200-pound guy. So is that the software that's broken or is that the scale itself? Or?
Funny you mention that. There's absolutely, the weighing capacity of the scale isn't broken whatsoever. It's just the logic board relaying the information to the outside monitors. That information is not going to the outside monitors, nor is it going to the computer. So currently, the scale weighs properly. I guess someone complained to the Ministry of Transportation for weighing the scales. I can't recall the name offhand right now. They sent a truck up specifically to come to our scale and check to make sure that it was weighing within its proper parameters. Came back with a perfect score. So, I mean, that's good to hear.
When was that?
I want to say a few months
They
ago.
showed up at Toco too, first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
Way to go.
So I think they figured, hey, if they're coming to the pub, we might as well go check everyone else.
If it was right on, then what's wrong with the software?
It's not the software. It's basically the logic board will take the information from the scale, right, and display it on a monitor. While basically it also relays it into the computer, and the computer software takes that item, it's just and puts it in. So right now we have to manually do that each time. It's just putting the weight into the computer manually. When we used to just push a button and it would put into the software for you.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, this is $10,000 over a 5-year period. Do we pay it all up front?
Over an annual period.
No,
thought
this
the
$10,000 is to fix those screens,
Yeah.
the 2 screens. That's all that this it's not really a service agreement. It's,
Well, this is a service agreement, but the service agreement basically gives us the $10,000 to fix it instead of paying $12,000, right? So the service agreement allows for a cheaper per hour payout for the guy's wage, for their travel rate, for their kilometer rate. It's
So it's like
cheaper in the
holding your
service
guy on
agreement.
retainer. You get a better rate for holding this company on retainer to fix and deal with your scale. So are they proposing that on an annual basis, they're willing to come at least twice a year, or is this on
They'll
an
come-
as-needed basis?
They'll come on a yearly basis to
To
verify.
calibrate and service the scales, and
Exactly.
deal with the load cells, and check on your software and everything. If there's something wrong, that's above and beyond their service call, it's an additional charge.
But yes,
This is normal for this kind of infrastructure?
Yeah,
You see
I'm not saying it's not, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how much
Yeah.
money we're gonna spend here.
So they're talking about 10 grand to fix the problems that are there right now.
Right now.
And they'll do a workup on the place, no doubt, and say, oh yeah, additionally, you should buy one of these, buy one of those, and this thing's probably fixed too, that'll be an extra 5 grand at some point. And then on an annual basis, they'll come back, give you this cut rate, retainer rate that they have for their services, and they'll come back on an annual basis, calibrate your scale, look for any other problems that you have, and make sure that you're operating properly, and charge you as per visit, charge you by the hour, by the unit for the visit, for the fix.
so you would see on a per annual basis, like a $2,000 service for them to come up and do all that.
Okay, so $85 an hour for a tech to come up, plus $2.10 a kilometer.
Plus-
And then it's if it's a Measurement Canada recognized technician that has to come up, then that rate goes up to $115 an hour. And we don't, that's going to happen once a year. We pay that on top of a retainer fee? And we're signing up for 5 years?
We don't pay
We don't
anything
pay a
to
retainer fee.
retain
This is
them.
an agreement to have them on call, kind of, or on retainer. If we agree to have them service our scale only, and not, well, I'm gonna phone Brian to service it this week, and I'll phone Jim to service it next
Okay.
week, it's just these guys,
Okay,
then those are the rates. If you were to phone them up without a service agreement, and say, hey, I've got a scale, can you fix it for me? They'd say, sure, here's the rate for people that don't have a service agreement with us.
Okay.
It's $105 for
and
those.
you're good with it?
Yes.
Because I don't understand it, I'll be honest with you.
Is,
Okay, Councillor Rock?
in the agreement, the cost per inspection is $85 and all those wonderful numbers. Now, is this for the duration of 5 years? Those numbers are firm?
That's correct.
Because this is an agreement, or 6 years, whatever it is, because it goes to September 2021. And they come up in September and do each year, if they're coming to do a check.
Yes, they'll come up on a yearly basis to do the measurement check, yeah.
So, and dependent upon what we need, the cost, the bill will vary.
And legally, we only need to do it basically once a year.
We know what the rates are. Okay. Thank you.
This has nothing to do with ice buildup or anything like that? Okay. Okay, Councillor Zelinski.
I don't know, I just have a problem with this altogether. I know when the scale were originally installed, that those panels that had the numbers on them, they worked. And they worked for about 2 months, and then they haven't worked since. And I don't know, I just feel like there's gotta be something else going on here besides I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that for a number to be projected from the scale to a screen 40 feet away, that it's going to cost $10,000 to fix that. I don't know. I just have a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Majority of it is travel costs. Bringing them up here, keeping them here for 2 days. The board itself costs a few $100s, but for them to come up here, bring the board, and then calibrate that board once they get here, they can't calibrate it down in Winnipeg and then send it to me, which we managed to do that last time, but this time we can't.
No, I just, if it's good enough, it's good enough for me.
I mean,
Anybody
it's almost 3 grand just for the accommodations and travel, right?
Oh, for sure, just to
So,
get them here, yeah.
That's, so I mean, there's 3 out of the 10 right there. You should probably talk, it's $85 per hour per tech. No doubt they're sending 2 guys, not 1. So that's $170 an hour.
Yep.
So
Doesn't take long.
one 10-hour day, that's another $1,700. So I can see how it wouldn't take very long
In the wrong
for it to
business.
come up. It might be nice though, Chris, to see, I mean, I don't disagree with Chad, a bit of an understanding of what it is that they're going to fix first off in terms of a line item quote. Not that I'm interested in really delving too much into what it is they're going to do, but, if we get a request to spend money outside of our budget, it'd be nice to see a bit of a breakdown that says, here's the hardware cost, here's the accommodation cost, here's the travel cost, here's the service rate cost. Real nice and clear. And then there is no question amongst the table about where that money is going. I'm not suggesting that their 10 grand is just a number they picked out of the air, but if it's a 4 or 5 line item thing, everybody here has got a little more comfort in saying, yeah, even though we didn't budget for this and this is a 5-year commitment, that then connects some dots to make it a little easier to say, yeah, let's do that.
For sure, I can do that. I basically just put these numbers in here just for simplicity.
Yeah.
I do have a breakdown that I can bring forward for next time.
So long as at the end of the day, when you're driving on that scale, you look up there and see those numbers, you go, okay, good enough where I go to school and head out.
How important are this? I'm sorry, but like, if the screens haven't worked for how many years? Like, really, we're gonna spend,
We spent a lot of time explaining why it was very important to have.
yeah, I guess.
Well, that is a good question, though, because, it does raise the point. What we're required to do is report to the province on the tonnage that comes in. And if I'm the guy paying the bill, I want to see the receipt that tells me what my weights were. That doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be big. I'm not taking a snapshot of my sign when I go in and a snapshot of my sign when I get up. I just get to see what my truck weighs. So maybe the exterior signs don't actually need to be fixed, as long as the receipt can print out what your tear in and your tear out is, and your net weight, and equals however much your bill is. If I'm a commercial entity and I'm hauling stuff into the dump and it's costing me, then as long as it's on my paper in front of me when I'm leaving, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
So maybe, obviously there's other things that need to be fixed. It's kind of dumb that our guy has to record manually the weight that the cells are picking up, because that's the whole point, is that you shouldn't have to do that. You want that fixed for sure.
Yeah.
But it might be worth the question, right?
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen? We're going to fix those things, and then a week in, kids are they go down the back lane, into the dump, grab the rocks, smash the LED lights on the signs, and we're right back where we were 5 years ago when we started. And they haven't worked for that long either, so while it looks kind of crappy, if it's not actually a requirement under a regulation somewhere to display the weights, then maybe we don't necessarily need to do that if we just know they're going to get smashed again anyhow.
Just to be clear, we're looking at passing a resolution here for this 5-year agreement, right? At those rates you have there, and we'll figure out what the other things you're going to look into, what the other things are closer in terms of cost, but we're still going to go ahead with this agreement. Everybody's okay with that? Okay.
Well, no, hang on a second. I don't know. If you enter the service agreement, then you're bound to have them do this work. It would be nice to get that quote from them about what the necessary work is first, and then sign the service agreement, once you know at least at the outset what they're coming for and what it's going to look like. Because if you sign the service agreement, you're obligated to do the work with them. And then they go, oh yeah, no, it's 10 grand. For sure. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. As opposed to the reverse, where it's like, give us the breakdown. What's it actually look like for the fix? And then you sign the service agreement. Now you've got one itemized project coming up, and you've signed the service agreement saying, yeah, we're happy with what you're giving us.
Okay.
Without the big lighting board.
Okay.
With or without?
Well,
big lighting
depending,
board?
right? That's a good question to ask. Are we actually required under some regulation to display the weights like that? If we're not,
Not that I'm aware of. That's kind of why I've been,
I just
Bonus.
I just think
Hesitant
we're trying to
on doing
save
it.
money, right? And
Yeah, I
it's
just
not
recall the
$1
discussion.
million, but.
Am I
every
going to
little
see
bit
what
helps.
the weight is? Yep, okay. And then they got to see it for a while, and then they didn't, and then they weren't happy about that, so.
Well, they're already not happy.
If you don't sign it, what's
unfortunately.
the, you're not coming.
yeah, exactly. At some point, we need to
You're damned
have
if you
that
do,
scale.
damned
So
if you don't sign it, wait till you get your bill. Because it'll be double that. They'll make it worth their while to come.
Oh, for sure.
Trust me, right?
oh yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that you try and make them cut the rate down too much or something, but to sign the service agreement without really having that,
Fair enough,
ironed
but
out
I mean,
first.
when we talk about saving money, you think you're saving money, but it never seems to work out that way.
no, and the scale has to be calibrated every year, and guaranteed you're getting a worse rate if you don't have the service agreement signed up, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to table it, and you'll come back with,
sounds good.
okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. Next time.
We just love having you here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, no,
And
I just
talking
enjoy it.
about the
That's why
dump.
I leave things out because I'm like, I know they'll table it. I get to come back.
Your plan's working beautifully.
All right, crosswalk at Smith and 6th.
Keep going. You can still keep going on this one.
Stick around.
No, let's see how this one goes.
The crosswalk's important. Like, splashing numbers at a dump, not so much to me.
You start too?
So what's
Oh, okay. Well, basically, we have a few two that I'm aware of right now. I can think offhand, basically crosswalks, we had it budgeted for Sixth and Smith, the crosswalks.
Got it budgeted for when?
For the 2016,
Okay.
we had for a retrofit of just placing LEDs. I spoke with the gentleman from MIT. He kind of helps, he's in the traffic division basically, and does these types of repairs and whatnot. He came through town, took a bit of a look at our crosswalk at Sixth and Smith, and said that you need to be looking a little bit more extensively, not just a retrofit, but replacing the base of it. And there was a relay that was broken on that, which we managed to jimmy rig to work again, because I don't know if you guys realize that at Sixth and Smith, sometimes at 11 o'clock at night, no one's there, but the lights are flashing for someone to cross. So he recommended to me that we do a full replacement. Unfortunately, that replacement is a little bit more than what was budgeted,
How much more?
close to double.
About twice.
About twice plus a little.
Yeah.
We budgeted 45 and it came in at 95.
This is budgeted under the gas tax. There is, last time I checked, was 1.4 million in and around there. So this project won't deplete that.
Well, that's good.
And it won't affect taxpayers.
Okay. So,
But you want more money.
The additional, we budgeted 45 out of there in our budget for this year, out of that reserve fund. So you're asking for the additional 50,000 to come from that also?
Yes.
To finish the complete job.
Wow.
And there's
So,
1.4 in there.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm fine with it, yeah, like, if it needs to be replaced, let's replace it. But I guess my concern is the rest of the crosswalks around town, are we gonna be looking in the next couple of years that they're gonna need to be replaced as well?
Yes, the one on 7th and Hogan, that was another one he recommended that be replaced as well, because some of them are starting to lean.
he needs to move here, buy a house here and pay some taxes
Yeah,
here
I
and
know,
see if we
exactly.
can do that.
I guess the upside to it is when we take down the one at Sixth and Smith, any parts that are on that one that we can use at our other areas, we'll do that. But we are looking to replace them with LED ones.
So that'll probably be budgeted for next year, type of thing? Or,
Yes,
yeah.
hopefully. That's what it's thinking, yeah.
Councillor Roth?
Are you going, is this work, if approved, going to be done before November kind of thing? Because it sounds like it's a major project, and if we have an early cold weather season, is it going to impede doing it?
I think the only thing that the cold weather we have to worry about is the foundation of it. But we're hoping to have it done before November, yeah.
concrete, yeah.
So what if we stick to our plan and say, no, thanks very much, but we're not going to replace the whole thing, we'll fix it?
We could do that too. And not do anything
That
to
sounds
it.
to be a more,
Until someone gets hurt, now that we're aware of it and the liability.
yeah, there's a crosswalk there that actually comes on and turns on and off, doesn't fall down on people.
Well, I don't know, when they start talking about the base deteriorating and that sort of thing, that gets a little bit scary, because,
Okay,
Actually, there was one of those posts that fell down on Fisher last year.
yeah, there was, I know,
It did.
but you know, I
It's
mean,
crushed. So,
I would have been fine
Just
up
because
until it
government says we
says
have
that
to.
the condition of the base and the standard is not in good shape. That's the only reason I would hesitate to not fix that base, because it's not in good shape, and now we know.
well,
Thanks
you know
for
what,
telling us, Chris.
I went and pushed the button,
Bring candy next time.
brought traffic to a halt and walked across the street and had a look around, traffic continued along. And then I pushed the button again, traffic came to a stop and I walked across the street, got in my vehicle and went home. It worked perfect, perfect.
I've seen it not work. I've pulled up there when the crosswalk lights are flashing and there's nobody around.
Nobody.
And it's dangerous if there's kids actually, if school's out, the thing's flashing and nobody's crossing, then people start traveling through. And so, I mean, for the controls part of it, we should be doing something for sure. I mean, I don't know, if you're gonna do something with it and the concrete base is already foundering, as the case is, really have much of a choice, really. I'm okay with.
Wouldn't be the first time I've been overruled, so
I mean,
I'm okay.
whatever. I'm okay with the recommendations from engineering here. I'm sure as long as these guys are saying, yeah, I mean, as long as, and I do trust that staff knows the financial situation that we're in, they wouldn't suggest that we should do this if it wasn't actually necessary. So, I'm okay with it.
Councillor Rod.
Do we know where this money's gonna come from?
Federal gas tax,
It's gas tax money.
gas tax money.
Okay.
I mean, the other alternative to this, I guess, would be to dismantle it so it doesn't fall down.
I'm sorry?
We could dismantle it,
That wouldn't be
still
wise.
leaving the crosswalk per se, but there just wouldn't be
That wouldn't be,
Wouldn't be lights.
no lights.
no, that wouldn't be.
Yeah,
wise.
let's not do that.
There's a lot of kids there. A lot of schools, a lot of kids. Okay. Let's get some new fixture.
So it'll be a resolution for the whole cost coming out of the gas tax reserve fund?
Yep. Yeah.
That's fine. Yep, I'm fine with that.
4.1, tax additions and cancellations.
Assessment branch has been sending in tax additions and cancellations as they're getting them and as changes are being made. We have
Thanks, Chris.
a resolution that will be coming forward, and it's an increase in revenue of 4,196 and a deletion of 7,309, or pardon me, 3,738. This is because of a fourplex added to our assessment roll, and there was also a reduction to a building on Fisher Avenue whereby the property became derelict. So it's kind of an in and out, but we're still going to be coming ahead of the game. So, as usual, resolution.
Yeah. Okay, 4.2, cemetery software.
Sorry, can
Oh,
I
do it,
just,
sure.
I don't have just maybe when they're done sending all their additions and deletions, could we maybe just get like one little spreadsheet that just kind of gives
Sure.
us like where we stand, whether we're in the plus or minus or kind of break even?
At one point, they used to send them all at one time, and for whatever reason, they're coming in as
Yeah.
they're doing them.
They don't
I
have
remember
stuff.
last year, I think we only had 2, so it was kind of easy to keep track of, but we've had a few
You
now,
get
so,
two a month.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like every
Yeah,
meeting.
They must. Okay,
Sorry.
4.2, cemetery software.
We have recently purchased some cemetery software. We were having, not problems, but we were just having some issues. It would take long, and there was some potential for making mistakes the way our old system works. We purchased new software, which BJ, I'm sure could tell you, is pretty amazing compared to what we had in place. However, to be even more efficient, we want to purchase another add-on to this program and the amount of $1,200. So we would like to get that money, and that came out of the same reserve fund, if I recall, gas tax reserve.
Anybody have any comments on this? Okay. Bring it on forward. AMM convention.
AMM convention is taking place in Winnipeg, November 21st to 23rd. We have some rooms booked, but we also would like to hit early bird registration. So that will be coming up September 14th to October 14th. And it's a big savings, so if we could even get an idea of how many people would be going so we could register.
Yeah, I want to go.
Do you want a gala ticket?
Yeah,
When do you have to know by?
October 14th.
As soon as possible. Early bird is September 14th to October 14th.
it's underway.
Okay.
Can I just make the point, last time we sent 3 people and it cost what, over quite a bit, $10,000? That, given what's going on, we select one person to go from council with everyone's questions, and they come back and report to council, not just everyone goes and go to all the events and spend all this money and nothing. Nothing came from the last time, came back to the rest of council, right? And I think historically, if I understand, speaking to previous mayors, there used to be reporting coming back to council when people went to meetings, and we don't get anything, but we spend all the money and go to all the galas, and it sounds like it's a fun time, and this isn't the time to be dropping that kind of cash for everyone to go. So I think it's important that, staff go or select staff go, someone from council goes, but we pick one person, not just anyone who wants to go gets to go. We need to be more strategic in our thinking and spending. And I think that's fair. I know no one agrees with me most of the time on that stuff, but I mean,
I agree
and
with
I
you on
think,
this one.
and reporting coming
Just as
back,
well.
and reporting coming
Yeah.
back, I think it's important, like, these are the people we met, this is what we discussed, this came back.
Yeah,
Not just, hey, yeah, it was a great time, right? That's gotta stop,
yeah,
especially now.
yeah.
There's my spiel.
No, I have to agree. I think I brought that up a few meetings ago or whatever, and to come back and get a report. And I would like to jump to the next one with the RCMP and who's ever going.
Let's-
There's 4.4?
Yeah, let's deal with 4.3 first, though.
Oh, okay. Well, the two is kind of going hand in hand.
They do, because there's also an opportunity to
Yeah.
meet with
Yeah.
many members of cabinet. There's also the opportunity to meet with people who may or may not be in like-minded situations that we are. And so if I go, then I'm fine with the report. I have no problem with that at all. I just want it on the record that I would like to attend.
And the plan is to send the CAO or assistant CAO as well?
I believe there was some chatter of that, yes. I don't think both, I thought one.
There's no need for both.
Yeah, so,
Councillor Rock.
Following this line of thought, then council will direct people going, or the person going, as to what information they want to come back. Because if you don't give directions, it doesn't really matter. Plus, people that have gone to things in the past, just because they didn't come back and give you a report, doesn't mean that the trip was not valuable, and doesn't mean that the information they got there didn't get used at some point down the road. Perhaps, when we had committees, we had more specific roles. Now we have less so maybe we have to look at it and consider what to do and how to do it.
Well, a couple of things here then, right? Are we going to send 17 people, or are we going to send 3 people, or are we going to send 1 person? What are we doing? We have to decide on that in terms of elected.
so it sounds like we're sending one elected official and we're sending one staff representative, which is 2 tickets, so, I mean.
That's good with
we don't-
everyone?
We don't necessarily even have to know exactly who's going. I mean, I don't have a problem with the mayor going. So
Councillor Rock?
if somebody else wants to go, whatever, I put it to the table.
Okay, I guess one concern I have then do we rotate it amongst councillors and the mayor doesn't get to go? Because sometimes key positions on council need to be at some of these things, not just because of the convention, but because of the other networking that goes on. And so if we pigeonhole ourselves, then you get, nobody goes?
I see your point, Brian. I do.
See, like basically what I heard is, well, Jim and I, did we toss a coin? Is that how we're going to decide who goes? What's going to be the rationale, eh? And when you start doing that, then going forward, it can create problems. I do agree, though, that we need to give, look at what's there and what's happening and kind of identify what areas you want to go to.
Randy?
If I may, rather than one of the administration go, we would be more than happy to see 2 council members go, for the simple fact that is more of the municipal officials portion of your conventions, rather than administration.
Yeah, there is another convention later in the year that's designed specifically for
Correct.
senior administration.
Yeah,
And I don't know of an elected official that's ever gone to that one.
no.
No.
So I would be more than happy to see, rather than admin, 2 members of council go.
Point. Yeah.
I guess, but to Alan's point, right? Is it necessary to send 2? Are 2 going to collect that much more information? That's not. I mean, the reality is, if we're all sitting here, we should all be as well versed in whatever it is that our issues are. And like you point out, Brian, if the representative that goes has a clear understanding of what it is that we want addressed or want information on or networked about at the AMM. If that is clear before somebody goes, it shouldn't really matter who goes. They come back, they have some kind of report on the actions that they had down there. And so it just becomes a case of, yeah, who wants to go, hands up, and then we make a decision about whether or not we're rotating through or if we're making a decision based on, no, well, if the head of council wants to go, then that person is able to, or has the precedence to. We'll have some decisions to make. I know for me, I'm not going to AMM in November, so it's a moot point for me.
Maybe stunned if you did.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, but,
Then I'd win,
sorry?
then I'd win.
Yes,
You never,
yeah, exactly, but I never go anywhere. So,
You got 4 years to catch up.
Yeah.
so, I mean, we can talk about this for 3 hours, trying to figure out what it is we want, or we can decide to buy one early bird ticket with one gala ticket, and that somebody is going, and over the course of the next 2 weeks here, think about how best to turn that thing into action for somebody in November. I don't know that do we have to give them the name of such and such a person to buy a ticket? I don't think so, right? And I'm sure it could be changed if we decided to after the fact.
You have to register someone.
I can register myself for now. And then.
Yeah, changed it, yeah.
I mean, your points are a good one, Brian. For me personally, I feel like this is one of those ones where I need some ponderance on this about what's the most effective way to go at it, and I don't feel like, I mean, we could sit here for 2 hours and I don't feel like I'd be comfortable with whatever decision I arrive at. Doesn't mean we can't do that if anybody wants to. Jimmy in the chair, you
Okay,
could push that one way.
so we'll table this then and deal with it in a couple of weeks?
Just for one, and then I can cancel hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those are,
Okay,
we only have so long.
okay, 4.4, RCMP, meeting with the RCMP at AMM.
Just basically, would council like that representative to meet with the RCMP?
Yeah.
They want to discuss.
And what do you want to discuss? Normally, in the past, what we did was we discussed the policing contract, or we discussed our issues with our downtown area and people from outside communities.
Yep,
All
Is
of
there
those.
anything else?
no, all of that over and over and over, yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
add one thing to it, which I was,
Yep,
maybe this would be an opportune time getting some letters from our constituents and that they have, what problems they do have with our downtown area. They'll know what, we're talking about. And maybe that'll give it a little bit more punch to, yeah, we do have a problem.
I have no issue with that,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
okay. I have one at the shop that I actually forgot from a customer, but I could probably give you one daily, or at least one a week anyways, but
Well,
might be something, a little
You've
bit more
got to the-
punch. Yeah,
near the end of November, I guess, I think it's the
Yeah.
22nd or 21st.
Yeah,
that's the only
21st
thing
to
that I
23rd.
wanted to bring up that,
Randy,
Okay.
do we renew the RCMP agreement on an annual basis, or
No,
it's
it was
just
done a
signed
couple
once?
years ago to sign for another, I think, 5 years, if not better.
No, it's not.
It's a 20-year agreement, was it not?
Is it
Yeah, I think we only have 18 years
Yeah, but
left.
there's a review and
You don't
re-signing.
get to say no, there's no
I thought it
signing.
was, isn't there 5 years where you go through it?
Well, we could cancel their
So,
police
to
contract
that- to
whenever.
that
No, but a
might-
5-year review, like you may have signed it for 20 years, but a review after so long.
It might be useful to drag it up for the next meeting, just to blow the dust off us so that we can identify properly any
But for sure, we want to have a meeting.
for issue here.
So is this isn't like a session where all the mayors and reeves and councilors and all that sit down with the RCMP? It's actually a one-on-one meeting with D Division or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
The odd time I've seen them where it's been community issues that are somewhat similar, they'll meet, amalgamate more than one municipality together, depending on their time. But they usually are very good about making sure it's issues of the same concern.
Brian?
Yeah, seeing this item, and after the discussion we just had, this is a case where I think it would be important that we have an administrator able to attend that meeting with the mayor or whatever, because of the knowledge base to have that discussion. Taking, and I'll use myself just as an example, bringing me up to speed to talk with the police about the contract and whatnot, and that I wouldn't have sufficient, even studying it from now till then, you may not have enough knowledge and information where people that have worked with it over time and that, those are key people you want to have going to those things. So it's good that we're having this discussion because we're identifying what's happening at that event and what's important to us, and then the appropriate people. And I think some of the information we get is good, but when we go there with a purpose to bring a message, it's more important we send the right messenger.
What we do generally in that case is we have a sit-down with Jody before the meeting happens to find out what all our concerns are and where it all rose from, and we provide that brief.
Build a brief, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the point about it being an elected officials seminar isn't a lost point. I mean, there won't be any, even for all these meetings with the RCMP, there won't be administrative officials there from the municipalities. So, I mean, it's a case of, I mean, and this is where, you know, if we're going to send one person, the person that's going needs to be comfortable. So, I mean, if it was me going, which I'm not, then I would need to spend quite a bit of time review. And I mean, that's part of the reason that I don't go, is because I simply don't have the time to come up to speed enough to represent necessarily ourselves well enough at this function, operating at this level with this entity. I would need years.
I think you need to re-emphasize that.
Now you're starting to.
Yeah. But to that end, right, I mean, that's why it's important that we select somebody that is comfortable, that we identify the issues we want discussed, so that everybody's clear on what it is that needs to be discussed, so the person that is going to go is able to come up to speed on whatever issue it is and speak to the issues that we have.
So I guess out of this, we're going to pass a resolution to have a meeting with the RCMP.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't even have to pass the resolution, it's just to let them know that we're meeting with them and we'll be
Okay,
able to
let's get on their agenda. Let's get an appointment. Okay, 4.5, pay the bills.
This is basically what we're requesting is a resolution to move forward with payments for checks for pay period 19 in the amount of $109,730.77. To approve general checks for Town of the Paw in the amount of $135,134.67. Kelsey Recreation checks in the amount of $3,039.42. And electronic funds transfer in the amount of $17,651.49. So it's just requesting a resolution to come forward to approve those.
4.6, regional library agreement.
Basically, what we're going to be doing is passing a resolution and enter into the library agreement. What happens in this case is the town signs the RM, and it's basically for the regional library. Jen did point out that they're using a population of 5,795 people, when in all reality it's 5,513. So right now, our contribution is based on per capita. That increases it quite a bit by not using the proper numbers. So I don't know if you guys are wanting to continue with the same, or if you want the actual per capita.
I think we want real numbers and not pretend numbers.
Okay.
I
So we're
think.
still doing
Yeah, we have.
149, and we'll just change.
It doesn't
per
change the
capita?
amount of funding in the end.
It doesn't
No.
change the amount.
Just change the amount
Yeah.
per
How
capita.
much per capita goes up. But it should be based on real numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else disagree with that? Agree with that, I mean?
Oh, is there any way we can move forward their requirement to give us their budget in January? I believe in here, I forget which section
Number
it is.
12, the board honor before January 31st and each year shall lay before council of each municipality that as part of the agreement a detailed estimate of the amount required by the board to meet expense.
We've been always the one that probably have requested they come here in February to present their budgets when everybody else does.
Well, right, but I think in the last couple of years, we've been trying to move those things forward, and if we're trying to get our departments to do it in 2016, so we have some ideas to what they're going to be able to spend, and whatever kind of preliminary budget we approve in December should give some clear direction to people as to what they can expect. If we don't do that, then they're the first 2-3 months, they're just sort of sitting and waiting to see what the word's going to be.
I'm sure we can ask for them to submit it, yeah.
Well, let's put it in black and white. you want this changed then? What do you want it changed to, December 31st?
Well, didn't
Well-
it say, Jenny said on or before, so we can ask whatever we want with it.
That's true.
Your
Like,
wording before it has.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if-
They're very accommodating.
Yeah.
when are our departments coming forward with this? We'll put them all on the same timeline,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well,
would
they'll build a meeting calendar,
be- That's,
and then we'll all know.
they may not.
Okay, so we'll,
Not to be nitpicky, but it doesn't really make sense for us to ask for, to have the date, January the 31st, in the fiscal year that they're already operating in, as the point in time that they're going to submit their operating budget.
that's the
It
last
should-
possible opportunity.
I know, but the last possible opportunity should be December the 31st, prior to the start of the fiscal year, for their initial presentation, right? Like, I mean, if this is funding for an external body, then, yeah, it wouldn't make sense to say, well, I mean, if they lay before us on January 31st, something that's completely outrageous, I mean, it just, not even that. From a timeline perspective, if it's already into the fiscal year, it doesn't make sense to say, you're already saying, yeah, we'll just, even though 1 month has passed and there's only 11 months left, give us your annual operating budget.
So if we're
I
gonna,
know that the process takes longer than that, but in the agreement, it should say December 31st.
okay, so we need to send this back to be redone, because on number 13, we need to change the population. So those numbers have to be changed, so,
Population number's fine, it's just the per capita number that.
well, no, you don't want to put in a wrong population. Why not say 150,000 then? You know, if we have 5,500 and we're saying, no, it says here there's 5,800, then
Yeah.
we might as well say 100,000, if we're not going to have the right number.
What have we identified for the department heads of our own departments for initial budget layout?
Basically, we try and get them done for the second week of December to have the first go at it.
So, I
We've
mean,
already passed
so
the
we should be
message.
we should be lining up all of these departments the same way, even the external ones, in my opinion.
Museum,
If
library,
we're using the
I-
second week of December as
Just
the first pass date,
get it in black and white, that's all I'm saying.
Can we not get them sooner? Because if you get it that late, we have to approve some sort of an interim budget.
We always do regardless.
We always
yes.
do, Brian, and we
I
always do it in
know.
January, and don't, so you always worry that it's not done by December 31st.
Well,
And you don't need to. There's so much evidence to back up that we're okay to roll into January without a passed budget. There's so much evidence. And you don't
Okay.
have to worry about it. You don't. There's so much evidence.
It's not the fact that you can't do it. You can do it, obviously, you used to pass them in June, right? The fact is that whether it's good operation-wise or management-wise, right? The earlier we get it done, the better.
The
off,
better,
right?
for sure.
So, say there's, we can, sure, but is it the best practice? No. Like, and we've come a long way going forward. We need to stay on that, so, next year, maybe we're doing it in November.
But the Act says we have to approve a budget. And if we don't have a budget approved by December 31st, then we are allowed to approve an interim budget, which is a temporary budget. Now, what I don't understand is why we always plan for nothing more than a temporary budget within our operations. I think our people can put the numbers together in the fall, put together that temporary budget, make it as real as you can. Waiting later on doesn't necessarily help.
yeah. No, I know the answer to that one though, and because I had the same question over and over again, it's because we never know our nominal surplus in time. And our budgeting is so shoestring tight, and our taxes are so high, we need to know how our nominal surplus sits before we're willing to accept our final operating budget plan, because it has such a large impact. So if we do the operational plan, the financial operational plan, prior to January 1, and we don't know the nominal surplus to year end, we don't really know where we sit. And there's the chance that you end up pocketing money from taxpayers, not pocketing, but you end up asking more money than you need to from taxpayers for not knowing how your nominal surplus plays out from the year before. And so it's totally able to be done, and larger cities do it. They pass their budget for January 1st, they have their financial operating plan, and it is what it is. And when the nominal surplus does or deficit comes in or goes out, it's just such a large pot, it's not a significant percentage-wise impact. For us, the nominal surplus almost represents,
It's massive.
it's almost 4 to 5% every year. That's significant,
And to that point, we have made great strides in passing our budget earlier and earlier and earlier. I believe last year we did it in March, was what, like 60 days before we did it the year before. February. So, I just don't want to have this conversation year after year after year. We're okay to have an interim budget for January, no problem. And we can pass it in January. Pass that interim budget in January. Because there's evidence to indicate that we have done that many, many times.
We passed a resolution that basically says up until we get our actual budget completed, that we can spend up to this much money.
Right.
If you go
Last
over
year, we
that,
did
has
it
to
on
come
December
back.
30th.
And plus, our CFO was new last year. They implemented some new systems that streamlined a lot of the budgeting compared to years previous. So, I mean, there's continual improvement going on here, which, like Jim points out, I'm happy to see that. I've been here for a few more budgets than you guys have seen, and while I get that you're perhaps not entirely happy with how that all lines up, it's continuing to improve. And at this point, that's all I'm happy to ask for continual improvement and not ask for the entire solution in the next year here. So, I mean,
I guess my concern is if they have to wait for nominal surplus, then, first of all, if we're getting 4 or 5% every year we're asking for that we don't use, cut her back 4 or 5%.
and Jody has been implementing systems to eliminate
Yeah.
that, right? That was one of the steps that she was taking, because one of our beefs was, I don't want to end up with a surplus at the end of the year. I want to end up at zero. Not for having spent money just for the sake of spending it, but because we were able to pinpoint it as best we could. And they've been making strides towards that. But I mean, especially in this year coming up, not knowing what our municipal tax base is going to look like and how things are going to move around, I'm not super keen to pass a budget for January 1st. I'm okay with it playing out for a little bit of the fiscal year as we learn what some of the impacts are, because it may impact some of our decision-making. So, you know, for all those reasons, I still think that within the library board agreement, which is where we started here, we should be identifying a date that lines up with what we expect of our department heads, because they're no different in terms of their budget request. But I wouldn't be okay with proposing that we see all the budget initial outlays coming in for November, not this year, not with everything that's going down.
Randy?
Secondary to that, with your Board of Revision, you're not going to have a whole lot of control over what happens there. That's pretty much setting your whole tax requirements. Because if our assessment comes in significantly less than what you were anticipating as a result of the Board of Revision, which happens in November, it's usually by the end of November where we start getting all those numbers finalized. Depending on what's going forward for 2017, that's going to have a big impact on what you're going to be cutting back and what you're going to be spending.
What's our date then for the agreement in item number 12? What's going to be our date?
I'd say December.
Yeah, December 15th, I would say, if that's what we're aiming for with other department heads, the middle of December, right?
Okay, December 15th? Everybody okay? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Okay, you want to move us in camera?
Be it resolved that we now do move to the in-camera portion of the committee of the whole meeting with Mayor Scott and the chair to discuss matters requiring our attention.
Thank you. No, I don't think so.